I just built my friend his ultimate dream YouTube setup, but just 2 hours ago the room looked something like this. And guess what? I didn't spend more than $50 on the whole makeover. Plus I even built a full 3D replica to show you all the techniques as much in depth. And the best thing, we shot this entire video on an iPhone 13 mini. This is right now iPhone 13 mini. Let's dive into it. My friend had the dream of becoming a YouTuber for such a long time, and it's time to make his dream come true. One thing holding him back was that he has just this small room and it's just 6 meters square, and he thought it's impossible to create a nice setup there. We're gonna prove that wrong today and transform it into a ultimate studio that you would guess it's 20 meters square or even bigger. It's all about the perception, and you can do so many things with small spaces, so there is literally nothing that's holding you back. And the second thing was budget. He doesn't have like a big budget to spend on the studio, he has just his iPhone. We need to figure it out with lowest budget as possible. He also bought recently this light, which cost I guess like just a few dollars. It's super cheap. I'm gonna put link to all of the stuff in the description. So we're gonna just use only what's already in his house. This is our challenges. Let's go right into it, and I'm gonna show you these 5 simple steps so you can do the same and demonstrate it on a 3D model. The first thing, clean the shit. Let me just show you what I mean. This is how his room looks like. It's just even hard for him to move there. No matter how much you invest into your setup, if it's messy like this, it's never gonna look good. Tip number 2 is depth angle. This is probably camera angle you would choose, just straight blank wall. This is the worst fucking idea you can have. Never ever film against a blank uninteresting wall. It's gonna just look like you are in a small cramped room. We need to trick the viewer into thinking this room is big, because that's gonna look professional and expensive. Easiest things to create that is film into the corner or the hallway. We could film like this, maybe. This could look good. What I choose as the best angle into this hallway, because that will create such a depth and expand the space. But now we have my friend inside a desk, which we don't want that. We could move table out of the way and now film into this angle. The second idea is to actually use the third tip, which is layers, 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 and there is never enough layers. And I was already mentioning that with the door. We will actually add another layer, which will be the desk behind him. This is gonna make so much more layers in the frame. First one is actually the screen. Place some interesting screensaver. There is the keyboard, and it's just gonna create way more visual interest than just a blank wall. We're gonna use cabinet with a guitar to add another visual interest. It's nice blue, which matches with the whole idea. Generally looks good when you have something in the corners, because otherwise they just look uninviting and sharp. I like it a lot. But there is another way we can make this even more interesting and even more layers. This PC, which is just laying in the corner and no one is using it. What is important to mention, I am not just putting random stuff. His YouTube channel is mostly about personal development. Guitar represents learning new skills. It's nice element to share the message, what he's trying to do. The computer and the screen, he's really into tech. That's something that represents another passion. This combined nicely represents what the channel is about. It's important just to remove anything you can out of the way which doesn't represent you or your passions. So the third thing here is to use depth of field to create layers. And depth of field is basically that blur you have either when using cinematic mode on your iPhone or when using DSLR. And to do that, we need to have enough space between him and the background. So the next tip to make this professional looking, and this is the biggest one so far, which is to turn off your ceiling light and use a professional filmmaking lights, which don't have to be expensive. So I will link that down in the description, either the budget variant or the professional variant. We can now compare the two things, how it looked like with ceiling lights, and now this is how it looks like with a normal film light. It's a little bit better, but still not as professional. And the first thing here is always use softbox, because when you're not using softbox, you have these hard, really sharp edges like here or like behind the PC, and it's just really not pleasing. So that's why to use a softbox. First of all, you want the softbox to be as close to you as possible, so it's lighting just you and not the surrounding. That's the first thing. We want to use something called Rembrandt lighting, which is to light from just one angle. So there is a lot of dimension, there is shadows on the other side, and it just looks cinematic. So we're gonna do exactly that. Now it looks pretty cool, but there is something missing. The background is just pretty boring, there is just shadows and nothing really interesting. And so the last tip is to RGB the shit out of your frame. And this is actually such a good tip when you're on a budget and you just wanna make anything look cool and professional, just to buy some cheap RGB strips and put it behind stuff like this table. That's what we are gonna do here. That's cool in my opinion. It just gives that punch. And another thing, there is something called complementary colors, and when you use them, it adds dimension and contrast into your scene. One of the most used complementary colors is actually teal and orange. Our skin is kind of in the orange realm, and so to complement that, there is teal color. Makes it just pop this much. Okay, so if this ain't the sickest setup, I don't know. And so here we go. This is how to turn any setup into something that looks sick as this. Thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed this video, and see you guys in the next one.